Hey everyone, it's Desiree, and I am here with day 22 of the 2019 Christmas series. Now it's going to be a little bit strange because for today's project, I am featuring Altenew, and I'm going to make a Happy Hanukkah card using this stamp set by them, and it's called Love and Light. It is a beautiful stamp set. I love the font, the scripts, and just some of the writings that are there. I've pulled out a couple of my distress oxides. This one here is my faded jeans, and I'm going to cover this entire panel. I'm going to have two layers of the distress oxide, but on two separate pieces of Bristol cardstock, and that is the cardstock that I am using for this project. So I'm also using my blender brush. I want a solid coverage, but I don't want a lot of coverage. Does that make sense? I'm not sure, but I want a softer tone. So on my next piece of Bristol cardstock, I'm going to use tumbled glass, and I'm going to blend this around. Now, an error that I made, a mistake, when I was cleaning my makeup brush, I used too damp of a baby wipe. So when I clean my makeup brushes, the baby wipe has actually been out for a little bit, or I've wrung it into another towel to get a lot of the moisture out. So because I still had a lot of the moisture on the baby wipe, it went onto the bristles, so that when I went onto the oxide, it kind of gave that ring effect that you're seeing there. And I'm okay with it because it's actually kind of sort of going to be covered. Would you like that? Kind of sort of? Yep. I am going to use my heat gun, my Ranger heat tool, just to make sure that these are dry. I am going to be embossing on these. And I just don't want the embossing powder to be everywhere except where it's supposed to be, if that makes sense. So I am going to make sure both of them are dry. And then once they are, we will continue forward. Now, what I am going to be doing is I will be using an oval die to cut this out on the faded jeans. Now, what I am seeing is there was a lot of the gold was hanging out onto the cardstock. So I'm just going to dry it some more, just to make sure that, again, the embossing powder is not going to be stuck everywhere. So once I think I've dried it, I do come in and just see, is this embossing powder sticking in other areas? So right now, no. It doesn't mean it's not going to. Just saying. So for this one, I'm actually going to stamp the menorah. And I think I said that right. Please forgive me if I did not. I just think the image is absolutely beautiful, with the flowers at the base and the way that it is drawn. So I used my anti-static pouch, and I'm going to come in with my VersaFine ink, and I'm going to stamp this a couple times just to make sure that I have a nice impression from my Versamark ink. The embossing powder that I'm using is my Recollections Gold. And this stamp does have some fine details to it. The lines of this stamp are not thick. They're very light-handed. with the drawing. So I am going to actually come in and stamp this again. That's why I did not remove that image from my stamp positioning tool. So by stamping this twice, it gives it a smoother effect for the embossing powder. The lines just get a little smoother. Sometimes there's like places where I missed, where it's not smooth. This helps with that. And then once that's done, we want to make sure that this is cooled down before we run this through any die cutting machine. Now, while I'm waiting for that to cool, I am going to play with some dies, some ovals, to see what size I want. I do want it pretty close around this image. So that's the die that I have chosen, and there it is, all die cut out. So for this panel here, I'm going to stamp my sentiment, and of course the sentiment that I chose is Happy Hanukkah. I will use my anti-static powder again. At first I tried one of the larger ones, or longer sentiments. I originally went in with Blessings for a Happy Hanukkah. But where this oval was sitting, because I didn't want to put it up too high onto the panel, so I did want it just up above the center. So that's why I went with the just Happy Hanukkah, because I think that sat better with the oval, because it's kind of sitting right there. I'm going to make sure my cardstock is where it should be. There's my anti-static pouch that I'm going to use. I will use my Versamark ink again, and I will stamp this a couple times to make sure that I have a good impression. And then again, I will come in with my gold embossing powder. Now, I will stamp this twice as well. And I'm sorry, let me apologize for my voice. I must be getting a cold, because as I continue this, it's getting worse. But this will continue, trust me. So that's the first time we stamped it, and now we're stamping the second time. Again, doing the same thing, using the Versamark right over what was originally heat embossed, coming in with some more powder, and then I will heat set that once again. You get a very nice, smooth image. Smoother than what you would if you just stamp it once and heat emboss once, if that makes sense. So I'm actually going to grab a piece of cardstock from my stash. Now this is a dark navy, so I'm sticking with the blue tones, and that is going to just slightly give an edge to each side of the panel with the tumbled glass. I am going to use my liquid adhesive to make sure that this will flatten out. By using the liquid adhesive on the other piece of cardstock, you know, when you use your heat tool, you may have some warping. By using my heat tool for my heat embossing, I had some warping. So by doing this, it helps to flatten that out for me. I'm going to use my double-sided foam squares. I'm going to use a lot of them because I can't find my double-sided tape. Yes! It's fun. So many things are going on. So I'm going to load the back up with the double-sided foam squares. I'm going to cut the different shapes. And then I'm going to remove the backing paper so that I can place it down onto the light blue panel. And then again, it's not centered, it's just slightly up towards the top. I have my standard A2 size card base, which is 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, and it is going to be a top folding card. I did use my paper creaser to score at 5 1/2 along the long edge, and to also help make that crease a little bit stronger. I'm going to use my liquid adhesive to set my panel right in the front onto my card base, and it will cover the entire card base front. And that there is our card for today. Again, this is day 22 of our 2019 Christmas series. And again, I did want to throw, or bring in, not throw, but bring in a Hanukkah card for those that celebrate Hanukkah. There are so many holidays that we do celebrate now. So I hope you enjoyed that. As I said, all the products that I used will be listed down below, as always, if you want to check them out and just learn a little bit more about them. If you have any questions or comments, please feel free to reach out, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. If you haven't subscribed yet, love for you to hit that button. Make sure you ring the bell too, because then you'll know when the next video is live and ready for you to watch. Thank you so much for spending this little bit of time with me, and if you made it this long into the series, wow, thank you so much. I hope everyone is enjoying their day, enjoying the holiday, but remember what's most important to me. Always be creative.